Alright, so I goofed up and I goofed up badly. So before my trip to Japan, which I did cover over on Geekdom 101, I have videos vlogging the entire thing on my main channel. I had a lot of content I recorded ahead of time and uploaded it so that you guys would have stuff to listen to and to watch while I was gone. And I made a big mistake when I uploaded this video the first time because I forgot to include... It's not that I forgot. I actually did edit the audio together, but I had put the wrong audio on the video. I never bothered to check the entire thing, so all you heard was my voice. You never got to hear Hail Zeon's, and I'm really sorry about that. I rarely make mistakes like that, and I haven't made one in a long time, but I really do apologize for that. I'm sure many people had a big laugh at it. I did forget to put Zeon's audio, but this time we have Zeon's audio. So I present to you the full discussion with Zeon about the rise of Skywalker from somebody who liked The Last Jedi and what they thought about the movie versus somebody who didn't like it, which is me. So it's a good little back and forth discussion. And again, my apologies again. I was rushing to get this stuff up and I screwed up. So, hey, take it on the chin and hopefully you guys will enjoy this. And thank you. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, in theaters right now, and without a doubt, it's one of the strangest Star Wars films ever. I feel like Star Wars The Last Jedi was very, very divisive among the fandom. This movie might be even more divisive, but also more confusing. So I brought somebody on to talk to me about the movie and their thoughts on it. Somebody who actually loved The Last Jedi. Most of the people I've had on the channel recently, like Dash, was not a fan of Last Jedi, but I've got somebody on who liked Last Jedi so that we can do a kind of a comparison and kind of get their thoughts on what JJ was doing versus Rian Johnson and kind of have a real good discussion about this film. And by the way, there will be spoilers in this discussion video, so if you have not seen the film, go see it, then come back and talk to us about it. Please welcome to World of Geekdom, Hail Zeon.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm so happy to have you back, and we actually have a discussion over on Zeon's old channel, the old channel, about The Last Jedi, and this was, we recorded that like 2 years ago, or
yeah,
last
no,
year?
it was like before it even hit Blu-ray.
Right.
But anyhow, like, whatever. At some point, you and I are going to rehash our Last Jedi discussion. I can see that happening in the future. But here we're here to talk about Rise of Skywalker, and I have so many feelings on it. Most of them are kind of apathetic because that movie was kind of fucking nothing to me.
It's interesting that you say that because I've seen the movie 3 times, or actually 3.5 times since it came out. And it does get better on subsequent viewings, but one thing that I definitely noticed is that they were trying so hard to kind of grab us emotionally, and it just didn't work. Like,
yeah, no, at no point did I feel anything during that movie, and I'm going to get into some of that, like, because I have...
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I was in the movie theater, and the reactions to certain events were not as emotional or as, I guess, loud as they were for Last Jedi and for Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people came into this movie, you know, either you love Last Jedi and you knew they were going to fuck it up, or you hated Last Jedi and you hoped they would make it better. And then what they gave us was this unusually edited, extremely breakneck speed movie, which, like I said, it does get better upon subsequent viewings. But the truth is, this is the honest truth, it would have been better if there was 2 movies. If there was 9 and then episode 10, it would have given J.J. Abrams a chance to kind of stress things out and kind of give the characters more time. But I feel like Last Jedi focused a lot on Luke Skywalker and his sort of, you know, deconstruction and I guess redemption. Mm-hmm. And in this movie, he's in it for like a minute, like 2 minutes, and it's like, damn, you know, as a ghost. And I feel like in Last Jedi, they didn't really focus on getting any characters over except for Kylo Ren. And honestly, Kylo Ren, in my opinion, Zeon, Kylo Ren is the best new character in the sequel trilogy, in my opinion.
I would have agreed with that opinion up until this movie. This movie kind of ruins Kylo Ren for me and makes him a far less interesting character than I thought he was in the last 2 films.
So what is it about this movie that ruined Kylo Ren for you?
It's just how his whole narrative kind of wraps up. It wraps up in a very cliched kind of fashion of, you know, he has his turn to the light side, and then he fights alongside the hero, and then he sacrifices himself, and that's it. Like, it is like, if you would ask
Vader.
any schmuck with no writing talent whatsoever, oh, what would you do with Kylo Ren? They would say that. It would just be the generic redemption arc, and that to me isn't interesting. Like, one of my favorite parts of The Last Jedi, which I have many, I love The Last Jedi. Every narrative choice that they made that most people hate, I love, because it breaks Star Wars away from the rigid format that it had been in. It opens like, a lot of people say, like, it destroyed the prospects of this trilogy because, like, it didn't leave itself connective tissue for future stories, and I don't agree with that. It severed its connection to the original trilogy, but it left itself open in ways of, now you have Kylo Ren as this emotionally unstable leader of the First Order. You have Rey without a master. You have now heroes who a hero who has no bloodline connection to previous characters, opening up the world of Star Wars to be about anybody, not just this clan of special people of a special bloodline. And I felt like there was so much narrative potential there. And then what J.J. Abrams does instead with this movie is, like, he ignores all of that narrative potential to shove it right back onto the rails of predictability. You know,
well,
the main villain is the Emperor. He's the one been pulling the strings the entire time. Rey is now secretly a Palpatine, which comes out of nowhere. She isn't a nobody anymore. No, she's actually a somebody. Surprise, we double twisted you. And this movie almost feels malicious in its ways, because, like, I knew going in, like, they're going to double back on a bunch of stuff from The Last Jedi. And I thought, like, what they were going to do with Rey is she was going to be the reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker.
Would you have been okay with that, or do you think
I would have been more okay with that, because in that case, at very least, she's not directly blood related to anybody. The whole line about her being a nobody by birth is still accurate, so it doesn't contradict that. But now it's just like, oh wait, like, your family wasn't a bunch of drugged out fucking junk dealers or whatever who abandoned you. Oh no, they were like the loving parents, and like they were the son of Emperor Palpatine, because apparently Palpatine fucks in canon.
Well, I mean, he can seduce you with the dark side of the Force in many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I agree that the Palpatine thing was extremely shoehorned. It's in the crawl, actually, and we talked about that a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, they've lied to us a lot. Like, they claim to have had a direction. They had no direction.
No, not at all.
It's obvious. None. Yeah, and I think the big problem here that I hope you can agree with me on is that we've got two directors, J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson. We've got Kathy Kennedy in charge, and she just let them do whatever they wanted. And it really, and I said this in other videos, this feels like a divorced couple having a custody battle over children. That's what it feels like in this case.
I can agree with that kind of metaphor.
Yeah, because you've got two different kind of directors. You've got Rian Johnson, who tries to be cute a lot. He does a lot of subversions. He tries to kind of, you know, unbalance things, no pun intended. Then you've got Abrams, who's kind of like a copycat director. You know, he's more of a, let's give the fans what they want, or what I think the fans want. And the issue is, I feel like if Abrams had been in charge of the trilogy, all three of them, it would have probably turned out better. Whereas if Rian Johnson was in charge of the trilogy, it would have probably also turned out better. I feel like having both of them in here, it just feels like, dude, we talked about this also. Episode 9 feels like episode 8 and 9. Like, there's so much cram into that movie. There's actually, I was watching it again today. If you actually, at the literal halfway point of the film, literally halfway through, I think an hour and 10 minutes is when Kylo Ren tells her you're a Palpatine. That right there could have been the cliffhanger for episode 8, right in the middle of that movie.
Yeah, no,
just like Empire.
It like, Abrams clearly had like a loose idea of where he wanted to take the series, and when he was given the sequel by Rian Johnson to build off of, instead of building off of Rian Johnson's sequel, he instead decided, well, I'm just going to keep telling the story I was going to tell. You know, Snoke needs to stay dead, Luke needs to stay dead, but everything else that was established in that film, we're going to undo all that. The lightsaber breaking? It's fixed now. Kylo Ren's helmet being shattered? Nope, he fixed it. Even little things like that, like
it was almost like very meta. Because when I watched Last Jedi, there's a meta narrative there, you know, where Rian Johnson is saying that, you know, we have to move forward from the past, whereas Abrams, that scene where Kylo Ren is rebuilding his helmet is like symbolic of, you broke my story, I'm gonna rebuild it. You know, that's the way I saw it.
It very much rings of that, and I don't disagree with that at all. And, like, now, like, I feel like we have such a completely disjointed fucking trilogy of films, and it's upsetting. Because,
it is upsetting.
Because you have a first film that is reestablishing the core feel of Star Wars, which, for some people, they loved it, and other people, they hated it because it was too much like A New Hope.
What did you think about Force Awakens?
I actually really liked The Force Awakens. Yes, it retreads the beats of A New Hope a lot. Like, it is structurally the same, but I feel like it being a sequel, it recontextualizes those beats. I do feel it is a different enough film, and I feel like that is the direction you needed to take Star Wars to get Star Wars fans back on board. Look, we're not being like the prequels. We're not doing this. We're trying to be like Star Wars again. Here's the feel of Star Wars, the transition wipes that you remember, the scenery, the practical effects,
the aesthetics, really, the music,
everything that you remember from the old trilogy. Here it is, right down to the plot beats of the film. This is Star Wars, and that's fine. Like, I feel like that's kind of what you needed to do with Star Wars to bring it back for a first film. Rian Johnson then goes along and does what I thought was a very interesting choice, which was
breaks everything
completely. Like, the first film, super safe, reestablishing all the things you know and love about Star Wars. Rian Johnson comes and just flips all of that on its head. He shatters the status quo. He leaves Star Wars open now to be whatever it wanted to be from here on out. Like any director with enough vision could have told several great follow-ups to The Last Jedi, I feel. Like, you know, you could have done a several-year time jump. You could have had an emotionally unstable Kylo Ren dealing with the pressures of being the leader of the First Order, something that he never actually wanted. You could have Hux trying to, like, sneakily betray him.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. That did kind of happen in this movie.
Yeah, fuck that. No, I'm going to get into that. Because they did it shittily. Where he was just kind of a mole.
It was very rushed.
Then they kill him. Huh?
Well, okay, but you were saying about Kylo Ren. Okay, you were saying that he didn't want to be this. I thought the point was he did want to be the Supreme Leader, because the way I always interpreted.
No, he didn't want to be the Supreme Leader. Like, he wanted to destroy the Republic and the First Order and make a new establishment with Rey.
Oh yeah, well that's true. But what I'm talking about is, in Last Jedi, when he smashed the helmet, and then when he killed Snoke, that to me was him, and I do like this, we talked about this on your video also, that was him ascending beyond Vader. That was him saying, okay, I'm not going to be subservient to a, quote, emperor. In this case, it was Snoke. I'm going to become the motherfucking emperor. And that's what he did. So going into Rise Skywalker, we have the Resistance, which has pretty much been destroyed. They have, like, almost no ships left. Then we have Kylo Ren as the Supreme Leader. But I always thought that the whole goal was that he wanted to be the Supreme Leader. Obviously with Rey. I'm not saying without Rey, but he wanted to be in charge of everything.
Right, like, well, he wanted to he wanted to build a new status quo, a new establishment. No light side, no dark side, no First Order, no
Jedi, no Luke. Yeah,
sure. like he didn't want Jedi, he didn't want Sith. He wanted a new order, a new status quo, and he wanted Rey to help forge that future with him. And now he's just made the leader of the bad guys, and a position he didn't really want, and that he really isn't emotionally ready for. Like, he really needed Rey to be an emotional anchor for him, because that's all he has.
Well, I like that, though.
It's good stuff. Like, it was, like, I feel Rian Johnson set up a lot of really interesting things. You have Rey, who is now without a teacher, but now I guess she does have a teacher because Leia was her teacher. And you, like, you know, instead of doing like a time jump and establishing the whole idea of there are other Force-sensitive people, the heroes of the universe don't have to be this one family from this one specific bloodline. They can be other people. Like, you know, you can just be inspired by these people and be your own legend. And no, this movie just completely backpedals on all of the narrative potential. And what do we get instead? We get this fanficky bullshit of, oh, the Emperor's still alive, and he sent a whisper or a transmission out into the, like, for some reason announcing that he fucking exists again.
Which is very stupid because he is the Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
he's always been in the shadows. Palpatine would never do that. What we're gonna tell you about that whole thing with Kylo Ren is, go ahead, finish your point. Sorry.
Yeah. I would just say though that this entire movie rings one of just malicious retconning. Like some of the things I was expecting.
Well, they retcon the entire saga.
Yeah, and
I remember I texted you before the movie and I said, this movie retcons the entire saga in the first 6 minutes. Palpatine being alive completely erases and negates the Chosen One. People keep trying to defend this and say, well, you know, evil will always exist. Yeah, but not Palpatine. Not the Sith. There are other evils out there.
Yeah.
Snoke was never said to be a Sith. In fact, when they interviewed Abrams about Snoke back in Force Awakens, he said Snoke is not a Sith. And basically, we all thought he was a dark Jedi or, you know, a former Jedi that went dark. Not every dark side user is a Sith. Sith is a religion. It's an evil religion, so to speak. And it's one of those things where, like, you know, him being alive ruins, and then the fact that you had Anakin say to Rey at the end of the movie, bring balance as I did. You didn't do shit, bro. Balance these nuts. You didn't bring fucking shit to fucking nothing, dude. So to me, that was very disrespectful. But what I wanted to tell you is, one of the things they fucked up with Rise of Skywalker, to your point about anybody can be a Force sensitive, Finn was a Force sensitive. I didn't pick it up the first time I saw it.
I didn't catch that at all. I had to like read about that after the fact.
Yes, and actually, here's the fucked up thing.
And only to say fuck them for doing that thing of, Rey, I have something to tell you.
And not paying it off. Yes.
This movie is such shit. Oh my God.
I feel like, honestly, Zeon, I feel like that the scene where he told her does exist. I think they have it. Like, I think he actually did tell her, but it got cut out of the movie for time constraints, which, to be honest, this movie should have been 3 hours to fit everything in. And he was Force sensitive because when Rey dies at the end, he feels it. So the idea of there being Palpatines and Skywalkers that are Force sensitive, they're all, I mean, look at the original trilogy. They've got, I'm sorry, the prequel trilogy. They've got Yoda, they've got Mace. They're not related. They're just random people who have midi-chlorians or whatever. Like, that's fine. Like, but the problem was, to your point, is that they didn't actually have, because Finn is supposed to confess to Rey, I'm Force sensitive. Not I love you, I'm Force sensitive. And we never saw that scene, which I think was a big mistake. And that's like a bad filmmaking mistake. You can't tease something and not pay it off at the end.
Yeah. Just so much of this movie is so frustrating.
What would you have done? And I'm not going to ask you to fanfic the shit, but like, what would you have done with the way Johnson left off episode 8? What would you have done to close this chapter? Would you have redeemed Kylo? Would you have had Leia involved at all? Would you have had Luke involved? Like, just brainstorm real quick.
Okay,
what would you have done?
So,
now, don't tell me the entire story, but just ideally.
Right. Just a vague idea of what I would have done. Kylo Ren should never have been redeemed, because Kylo Ren being redeemed in this movie completely undermines what was said in the previous film about he's too far gone. You can't bring him back. But
then Luke said no one's ever really gone.
Well,
in Last Jedi, he said that.
Well, he says that no one's really gone. I feel like in terms of life,
no one's ever really gone.
Yeah, like I feel like maybe I'm misinterpreting what he means by gone.
I thought that was a contradiction, Zeon. I know you love Last Jedi, but that's a contradiction, brother.
But yeah, I don't want to see Kylo Ren redeemed, because Kylo Ren being redeemed, it makes Luke and Leia seem stupid, because it's like they gave up on him and thought he was beyond redemption, only to find out, oh no, he just needed some puss. That's all he really needed.
Well, he needed his mother dying in a very uncomfortable scene, might I add, in Rise of Skywalker. That scene was weird.
Yeah, because they had to work around the fact that Carrie Fisher was dead. I still think, God, there's so many moments in this film, though, where I feel like they were gonna do something narratively interesting.
Right.
And
there's
like when Rey force lightnings the ship and we think Chewbacca's dead, I perked up in the movie. I'm like, oh my God, they just killed Chewbacca in this really, in this pulled away shot. You don't see Chewbacca's, what he's going through. You just see Rey's expression, and it's all about her and the mental anguish she's going through. And now she has to deal with the fact that, maybe she's being pulled by the dark side because the lightning is a very Sith thing to do, not a Jedi thing. And, that had so much narrative potential, and then they completely dropped that narrative potential. They talk about it briefly, and it never becomes, an issue for her later in the film. And you have Chewbacca who's just alive. It's like, we killed Chewbacca. Nope, no, we didn't. Oh, we killed Kylo Ren. No, we didn't. So yeah.
Well, but Last Jedi did. Oh, we killed Leia. Oh no, we didn't. So I mean, that's subversion.
Well, no, they never said they killed Leia. At no point does Leia die. Leia.
Well, yeah, she went out into space. I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah,
she didn't die, but she
you
she
see
would have
her
died.
in space, and then immediately she's brought back in, and that is just a narrative tool to keep her out of the film, so they could do the subplot with Poe Dameron.
With Poe Dameron, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
did you like Poe in this movie?
I don't honestly like anybody in this movie.
That's interesting.
That makes me sad because I really like these characters.
Me too.
I do. I loved Poe Dameron. I loved Finn and Rey. I actually really like these characters.
Yeah, we got to see the threesome. We got to see the threesome working together, which I know is something that resonates with you now. But let's keep that between you and I. So.
Son of a bitch. I knew it. Anyhow,
I've been waiting all day to say that line.
You son of a bitch. Anyhow,
they're gonna think that we're the ones doing it.
anyhow.
Right. Yeah. No. You said you liked the characters, but you felt like in this film, the thing about it is that it was just too rushed. Right.
Okay. The movie's structure is just Palpatine has been the one pulling the strings this entire time, and. Then our heroes...
That was not the plan. That was not the plan.
No, that was not. That was clearly not the plan. So Palpatine has just been the villain this entire time from the very beginning, which feels pulled out of J.J. Abrams' ass. He has, this entire flying fortress. He has, a billion Star Destroyers now. Where he got the resources for that, fuck if I know.
They explain it in the visual dictionary.
Yeah, don't even bring up expanded shit. If it's not in the movies, I don't fucking care. Just like Rey's fucking repaired lightsaber. Because this was the opportunity. Fucking rebuilding Luke's lightsaber pisses me off. It's no, you destroyed that. You have now separated Star Wars from its legacy. You can build something new. Rey should have had a disconnecting, double-sided lightsaber to go with her staff fighting.
Evil Rey did.
She did. And it should have just been real Rey. Rey should have had the Darth Maul-styled double-blade lightsaber. Maybe have it disconnect into two swords so you can still do the passing it off to Kylo Ren thing.
That would be kind of cool, actually. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, there's still a lot of way... but no, it's just well, that's not the classic thing. It's kind of gotta get me talking about Dragon Ball Super, but in modern Dragon Ball, everything has to relate back to DBZ. It's oh well, Vegeta has to be in his Saiyan armor from the Cell arc. Why? Because that's the iconic shit. Vegeta and Goku have to do the back-to-back Kamehameha Gallico bullshit.
Right.
Why? Because, that's their iconic moves. And look, they're teaming up. Isn't that powerful? Even though they keep doing it every single storyline in modern Dragon Ball.
They kept bringing back Frieza and Trunks and old character 17.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel everything
these franchises that have these dedicated fan bases are stuck in stasis. They're not allowed to grow. And that's my problem with this new movie is that like The Last Jedi gave Star Wars the opportunity to grow into being something new and to expand and to still be like a really great space adventure film. And instead, what we got was just more of the same. Like, the whole thing reads like fan fiction is a thing that upsets me.
I think everybody's been saying that. You're not the only one. I think the entire sequel trilogy is fan fiction, to be honest with you. Especially this one. This one definitely went a bit too far with the fan fiction, especially the scene where the Jedi are talking to her, and you have, like, Jedi from the TV shows and from the prequels and from the books, and, you know,
holy crap. Yeah, I have no clue who any of those people were.
Well, you could hear Liam Neeson and Sam Jackson, right? I mean, you recognize those voices.
Yeah,
right?
no, like, I thought I did recognize those voices, but,
yeah, you gotta watch it again because they all talk at the same time. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Ahsoka Tano. I mean, the thing is, it was a cool... Again, the thing about this movie is that
it's a fan service film that has no narrative weight to it. Like, our heroes are on a series of fetch quests to defeat the villain from the previous series. Oh, by the way, our hero is actually the granddaughter of the villain. And also, our main villain for this entire story, for this for this sequel trilogy, has a big generic redemption arc, and then him and our hero are in love, and then he fucking dies, and I'm like, I hate this. Just, it sucks. Like, I mean,
did you think about...
Hate is a strong word. It's boring, and it's uninteresting, and it's the laziest thing they could have done.
Yeah, because you said you didn't hate this movie.
I don't, because Star Wars isn't worth my hatred. Like, I'm not that big of a fan of Star Wars. I like the original trilogy. I don't like the prequels. So, right out of the gate, I dislike half of Star Wars by the time Disney got a hold of it. I like The Force Awakens. I did not like Rogue One. I love The Last Jedi. I did not like Solo. So, up until this point, I have consistently disliked half of the Star Wars movies that have existed. Live-action Star Wars movies.
How do you feel about Mandalorian? Have you watched that?
I haven't watched any of The Mandalorian yet. People keep telling me it's good. I just haven't had time for it. I've been distracted.
Fantastic. Yes, we talked about that earlier. So, anyways, so you were saying, what would you have... Okay, so if you were in charge of Episode 9... Would you have had Rey kill Kylo at the end? Like, how would you have ended this fucking thing? Like, I feel like that
honestly,
would be Rian Johnson made it hard, dude. Rian Johnson made it hard. You have to at least admit that. I feel like he made it hard.
You know, I mean, I feel like there's some things you could have done. Like, maybe have Hux and the Knights of Ren conspire against Kylo because Kylo's too unstable. Like, And then you could have Rey and Kylo team up, not as not like being on the same side, not being both good guys, but just the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of scenario, like they did.
So you would have had the Knights of Ren become the main villains,
basically, like Hux and the Knights of Ren, and have them trying to overtake Kylo Ren. Have Kylo Ren in a moment of desperation, he needs to team up with Rey, and then you can just have, like, once Hux is dealt with, once the Knights of Ren are dealt with, then you can have a final climactic battle between Rey and Kylo, and you could have had them, like, had this big emotional battle between these two, where Rey is trying desperately to, like, they're both trying to desperately reach out to one another to convert the other to the other one's side, and then you could have done the Leia reaching out to Ben and him dying, and that's just where the movie ends on. Like, or that's where, like, the saga ends with, like, you know, Rey having to kill Kylo because it was the only option left. Like, and...
But what you're saying, you would have still kept Carrie Fisher?
Until the very end. Like, I mean, she could have still passed away.
So in your version, Kylo would have been killed by Rey because Leia distracted him?
Basically, instead of backpedaling like they do, where it's just like, oh, he got stabbed, and then she heals him. Which
so you well, I like the healing. I liked it actually. I didn't like the execution, but I like the concept because
I like the concept also. I just feel like it wasn't done very well. One of the things I really liked about The Last Jedi is that The Last Jedi made the Force feel magical again, and this movie made the Force feel like superpowers again.
It definitely felt like superpowers, and it was also very unbalanced because, the movie starts out with Palpatine literally lifting an entire armada with the Force, with his hands, and yet at the end, he's back to using Force lightning, which I thought, when you talk about the boring narrative choices, I'm going to agree and disagree with you, because I think Lance said the same thing. He thought the movie was boring as far as the decisions they made, when it comes to, like, in my opinion, Rey healing him after she killed him or whatever, I liked it because it showed that Rey, despite being a Palpatine, still had compassion. That's one thing I actually love about the message. It's the execution that's the problem. The message is that even if you come from an evil family, even if your parents are douchebags, or your grandparents in this case, you don't have to go down that path. And Rey chose her own path. She didn't want to be like that. And even though she's been battling this guy for 3 movies, she healed him and showed compassion. And then when she said to him, and it actually really hit me the second time I watched it, which is why I'm telling you should see it again, when she says, "You told me to take it, you held out your hand for me. I would have done it if you were Ben Solo." Like, that tore me up. It was like, dude, like, she basically said, look, like, you and I could have been a thing, but you're an evil bastard, and I know you're really good, and if you were good, it could have worked out. So then at the end, when he saves her life, when he sacrificed his life for hers, it has extra meaning because he shows his compassion back to her. There was just a lot of, to me, Zeon, that was great stuff. But the execution, I think, is the issue. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the concept behind,
the execution, and it pisses me off because J.J. Abrams is a much better director than this. Like,
right. I think
The Force
Disney
Awakens
him, bro.
Works. It's just,
I think Disney fucked him, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like he was put on this project too late, and it's kind of like that Pokemon thing where it's just like, well, we have to have a new Pokemon installment out by this time, so he had to cut corners. He wasn't able to get the shots he needed. He wasn't able to edit the film in a way that he would have wanted to get the maximum emotional effect. And, like, this is a movie from the director of Star Trek Into Darkness and the writer of Batman v Superman.
Two classics.
That is exactly what this movie feels like. It feels just as long-winded, disjointed, and convoluted as Batman v Superman, and it feels just as dumb and pandering and misunderstanding of good fan service as Star Trek Into Darkness.
I can't disagree with you on that.
It is literally like the worst parts of those films. Yet for some reason, I hate those films with a fucking passion. I don't hate this film with a passion. It's just boring and baffling in the fact that, like, it took the shape that it did.
Well, I think one of the reasons why you probably don't hate this movie is because the characters, like you said.
Yeah, no, like, I already liked the characters, and...
Right. Like, I feel like when you see them together in that adventure on Pisana and the desert planet, I thought the chase sequence was, like, whatever. It was just a typical Star Wars chase sequence. But seeing them interact, like Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, and Daisy Ridley,
chemistry between the characters is still really good.
They have chemistry. Yeah, Daisy Ridley is adorable in this movie. Dude.
Yeah, no, she's great.
Adorable.
Like the actors really bring their game, and they're like the only thing that elevate it. And honestly, let me just say, I'm so pissed that, like, fucking Disney and their dickless bullshit, and I'm scared of losing China money, that they will not just
give us... The lesbian kiss?
Okay, the lesbian kiss thing, I actually did catch it. I caught it the first... I've only seen it once.
I caught it the third time, dude.
Really? I caught it immediately.
Yeah, I didn't see it the first time. I knew it was coming. I even told Josie, I said, there's a lesbian kiss in the movie, but it's not going to be a big deal. And she was like, cool. And I was looking for it. I didn't catch it until the very,
I heard that there was an LGBTQ scene in the film. I didn't look into it. I was just like, whatever. It's just probably more bullshit. I don't care.
And it was. It was more bullshit.
And when it happened, it actually caught me off guard because I was pretty checked out of the movie by this point. I'm like, okay, we just had our big Shonen Jump fucking finale. This was dumb as shit. I just want this movie to be over. I'm fucking tired and I'm bored. And like, then like the lesbian kiss happened. I'm like, oh, those two, they were a couple? Oh, I guess so. So I caught it immediately, and it was surprising because it was like I didn't see that coming. But honestly, it's fine. Fuck Disney if they're trying to make a big deal out of it. It's like, look, we put gayness in Star Wars.
The pandering, bro.
Because,
the pandering. They're trying to pander to
like,
gays now.
It should have been Poe and Finn. They had more chemistry in this film than this fucking series than any two characters.
Wait. So you don't think that Finn should have got with Rose Tico?
No, of course not. And he's not with Rose Tico.
No, I know he's not, but I'm saying I'm surprised you didn't think that maybe they would go in that direction after what happened in Last Jedi. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It should have always been Poe and Finn, I think. They had really good chemistry in the first movie, and they have good banter. They clearly have a lot of connection.
In real life, they're boys.
And,
so, I mean...
And in this new movie, in Rise of Skywalker, like, they have, like, this bickering couple banter that made me go, I'm like, are they a gay couple? But then, like, near the end of the film, with Poe and the other chick who's introduced with the helmet.
You talking about Zori Bliss?
Yeah, Zori. Like she gets introduced, or like, you know, and like it's like, oh, he has a case of the not gays. Look, Poe's not gay. Look, he clearly wants to sex this woman. Oh, Finn said this thing to Rey. He clearly wants to sex Rey. That's what that's about. See, they're not gay. Not gay at all. And I'm just like, you dickless cowards.
Well, I mean, I will say this too. In my opinion, I thought Felicity did a pretty good job playing Zori Bliss, but that character was like a nothing character to me. Same thing with Jaina. Like the two new women they introduced.
Oh yeah,
in this movie,
both of them suck. Like they introduced two new characters and they do absolutely nothing for the narrative other than have more characters and action figures to sell.
Other than help out. That's it. They just helped out. They were no different than Knee and Numb, dude. And like honestly, I keep going back to this. They didn't have enough time. I think they should have called an audible and said, look, we're going to do Star Wars Episode 10. You know, I know you like Last Jedi, but they should have just said, look, they fucked up with Last Jedi. Let's do 9 and 10 and spread things out and let it breathe. Because I don't care about Jane. I don't care about Zori Bliss. I mean, the reality is I don't care about any of these characters. I really don't. You know, Kylo Ren was one that I really liked. I love Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm. And I actually liked Snoke for a while. And then this movie, I really got to enjoy, you know, Boyega. They do have a lot of chemistry. It's like... they're going on this adventure together, and it's like, man, why couldn't they always have gone on this adventure? Like, this should have been Episode 8, because they were so far apart in Episode 8. Like, Episode 8, like, and I know you like it, but this is not even about a criticism of the film. It's more so, like, maybe that movie should have been, like, part of Episode 7 or something like that, like them being apart, because I like them together. I like the three of them together. Like, when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, why couldn't there have been another movie in between 8 and 9 where they got to do more of this kind of stuff? Because it was a cool team. Like, it was a cool little, you know, you got the guy who can fly anything, the former Stormtrooper, and the Jedi. Like, that's like a beautiful trio right here, right there. It wasn't quite Luke, Han, and Leia, but I still liked it.
Like, I agree with that. Like, I would have liked more of them, and I do like them being a trio and, like, going out and going on this big adventure and stuff, but, like, the adventure that they're going on, I feel, kind of sucks.
Well,
like,
yeah, it's definitely a fetch quest, for sure.
It's a series of fetch quests, and, like, every time this movie, like I said, every time I feel like this movie's gonna hit, like, a really unique emotional beat, it backpedals. Chewbacca died. No, he didn't. C-3PO had to give away his memories.
Yep, he got it back.
He got him back. Kylo Ren just got stabbed, and he's, like, dying in a heap. She healed him. And it's just like, for fuck's sake, movie. Rey sacrificed herself. No way Kylo sacrificed himself for her. It's like, oh. And then they get to make out for like 5 seconds.
It was a good kiss, though. I actually liked that kiss.
I hated it. Like, literally, it was great, because like the person I had seen that movie with, she was just like, I think they're in love. And I was just like, he's just gonna sacrifice himself for her. It's pretty cliched. I see this coming. And then we were both right. She was just like, called it, and I was just like, God damn it, I started bitching to her in the theater about how I'm like, this is fucking stupid, this is so fucking cliched, God fucking damn it.
It is very predictable. That I will say that.
Yeah.
But I also felt like I enjoyed again, it goes back to what I said earlier. I like the idea here. I actually like the concepts of this film. To me, and they leave me thinking. Like, I thought a lot after this movie. Like, for example, this idea that Palpatine has the spirit of all the Sith inside of him, and that there's a bizarre occult ritual, because I love like conspiracy stuff, and like she has to kill him in order for him to survive inside of her body. And I actually kind of love that stuff, even though it does retcon everything going back to Darth Bane. Like, I like that concept. Maybe for a different movie it would have worked out better, but I like that concept. And then the idea of Kylo telling Rey, I love them together in this movie. How she's like, oh, you're serving another master, and then Kylo's like, nope, I got my own plans. And then even later on in the movie, Palpatine's like, are you gonna betray me? Do I gotta turn my fleet against you? Like, I love it because Kylo always planned to betray Palpatine. Now, why he didn't kill him at the beginning of the movie, I'll never understand. But I do like how his goal was to turn to the dark side and have them both rule together, sort of like what Luke wanted to do with Vader. And I did like that I like the message that she has the blood of evil, right? And so does he, because he is the grandson of Darth Vader. She's the granddaughter of Palpatine. But they both, at the end of the day, chose to be good people. I think that's very powerful. I really feel that way. But the execution was bad.
Because, okay, like, I don't like that because, like, the idea of, like, oh, well, they overcame, like, their evil heritage. It's like, well, being a piece of shit isn't a genetic trait.
Right. I agree with that.
So, yeah, like, I don't think it's, like, more powerful because, like, Rey finding out that she's a Palpatine, and, like, the mere fact that, like, it is kind of interesting because, like, she is a Force user, and, like, I feel like they could have done more with her emotional struggle. Like, the moment that she finds out she's a Palpatine, like, had Abrams, I feel like Abrams would have done the whole, like, you're a Palpatine thing in the last film, and then he could have had this entire film to deal with, like, Rey dealing with the emotional baggage of being a Palpatine. But,
there wasn't enough time, right?
But, at the same time, now you're just fucking retreading the entire original trilogy at this point of, oh, like, the I am your father thing, except Palpatine is your grandfather. And it's just
it's the same thing.
Like, yep, that's the problem. Like, Abrams just wanted to remake Star Wars again. And that's why I will forever appreciate what Rian Johnson was trying to do. Because he was trying to at least break Star Wars free of that mold. And much like Kylo Ren's helmet, fucking J.J. Abrams pieced it back together because he's a talentless fanboy. He just wants his fan service. He doesn't want, like, he doesn't care about the characters and the narrative and the depth and, like, doing new creative original things with the IP. He just wants the things that he enjoyed from his childhood, but shinier and prettier. That's it.
Well, it's crazy.
And it's the same fucking thing that every other fucking 30, 40-year-old fucking fat-ass fanboy wants. No offense.
That was... I'm not. I'm
fucking
not
with
fat.
you.
I was gonna say I'm not 40 either. What are you saying?
I said 30 to 40.
I guess I am in that range, but Zeon, I didn't want this though. This is not what I wanted. I know. Dude, this whole sequel trilogy, when I pictured the sequel trilogy, it was not like this. I will say this too. The scene when I didn't want this. I swear to you, this movie is not a good movie. Mm-hmm. I enjoy it more on repeat viewings, but this is not really what I wanted. That's the truth. I'm being honest with you about that. This whole trilogy to me is a wash, and I feel like, like the scene where remember the scene where they show like Luke and Leia training? That scene hit me because it was like young Leia and young Luke, and they did it pretty good. And, like, that's kind of what I wanted from the sequel trilogy, like Luke and Leia and Han having one more adventure together, and then you bring in the new characters. Just to have one more nostalgic romp, and then you bring in the new characters to kind of, keep this thing going. But we didn't get that. That's really what I wanted. And, it just sucks because this whole trilogy had no synergy. Like,
nothing. Because you had two directors who wanted two completely different visions, and
right.
I feel after the second film in this trilogy, you still had the potential for that, and you still could have had synergy, because you would have had, look, we have reestablished the status quo, we've shattered the status quo, now here is the new future of Star Wars for the third film. Like, you could have built a narrative out of these three films if you continued from where Rian Johnson went from. But instead you have status quo, shattering the status quo, rebuilding the status quo, and then ending on the status quo. Like, you don't, like, and because of that, now, yes, The Last Jedi is horribly out of place in this trilogy because you have boilerplate bullshit and boilerplate bullshit bookending a film that tried to do something new and original with the ideas.
Well, I mean, like I said before, I don't like Last Jedi for various reasons. Mostly the treatment of Luke Skywalker. That's been my main problem with that film. Nothing to do with any of this fucking political nothing. I don't care about that. And there's also, I feel the movie's very boring. But it's funny because, you know, that movie, I think Last Jedi's boring, and I think it's too slow and plotting, and yet this movie's the opposite. And I don't like this either. It's like they couldn't find a balance, you know.
See,
no
it's
pun
funny
intended.
because, like, you know, you find, like, The Last Jedi slow and boring. I find this movie fast and boring. Like,
yeah, but this is too fast.
Like it's like a jokier version of it's like a more fanficky, jokier version of Rogue One, where Rogue One was like plot beat, like just moving the narrative forward. Things don't really connect that well. And up to, like, the big finale, and I just felt nothing. Like, I felt nothing during Rogue One. I felt nothing during this movie. And every time I felt like I was going to feel something, the movie took that away from me. And I'm like, I can't even be fucking invested in this because, like, the bold decisions this movie pretends like it's going to make, it just yanks away from me. And I just go, well, fuck it. I don't care now.
Well, me being a hardcore Star Wars fan for many years, I agree in that the movie did make a lot of bold decisions and did back out on them, but there were still some boldness. You know, like I said, retconning the Chosen One, retconning Palpatine, you know, they were bold, they were ballsy, but were they the right decisions? I feel like it would have been a little bit more interesting if instead of Palpatine being the main villain, it was Snoke's other apprentice. We knew he had another apprentice, you know, in the original sort of plan. So maybe it could have been something where his other apprentice, sort of like your idea, where he shows up and the Knights of Ren kind of gravitate towards him because Kylo Ren can't contain himself. You know, to me, that could have worked. They could have done the same exact movie, maybe a little bit slower, right? And not had Palpatine in it. Have Kylo get redeemed in the same way, you know, and then I think it would have worked out better because I think Palpatine is just such... And the way he died was so fucking stupid because he... Again, dude, with the lightning, bro, like, it's fucked you 3 times already. And it's like, come on, like... That was dumb. That was the idea of 2 lightsabers, right? Being able to counteract the lightning the way it was. I thought it was stupid, and I was expecting something better than that. If fucking Kylo Ren, if Ben Solo had risen out of that pit and like I said in the other video with Dash, and come up and snuck behind Palpatine and chopped his head off, that would have gotten a reaction in the movie theater. And at least a Skywalker would have been the one to kill a Palpatine. Instead, it was a Palpatine killed a Palpatine. And that to me is like, well, what the fuck? And then, how did you feel about the ending with her calling herself Skywalker and going back to the Lars homestead?
Okay. Honestly, it's cliched as fuck, but I kind of liked it. Like, I saw it coming a mile away. I thought it was poorly executed, honestly, because there's way, way too long of a pause between
her saying the name.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because it's like because it's like you have like that pause for a beat, but then she like turns her head, and then Leia and Luke's Force Ghosts are there, and then they hang on them a little too long, and then it goes back to Rey. And then she has that exact same paused beat, and then she says Skywalker, and I'm like, that exchange is like, because like from that woman's perspective, what's your name? Stands there for 35 seconds, Skywalker. I'm like, oh god, yeah, no, that's just awkward. It was very poorly paced.
How do you feel about, like, so you're okay with, like, the ghost? So you don't think it's offensive or disrespectful to have her call herself Skywalker if she's a Palpatine?
No.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, I also
Rey
kind of took...
Rey is a character who has always been without family. She's always defined herself. And the people who have been guiding her have been Skywalkers.
Well, for sure. And I wonder why Ben Solo wasn't there. You know, there's all kinds of theories about this. That there's a theory that when Ben Solo put his hand on her stomach, he not only put part of his essence out of her, but he may have knocked her up with the Force. There's actually a theory now that episodes 10, 11, and 12 are going to be about how she has Kylo Ren's baby inside of her because he used the Force to put it in there. Because you remember how he had his hand right next to her stomach when he healed her? I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, God, you're probably right, and I'm vomiting in my mouth.
Not just that, but
I hate Star Wars. Star Wars is bad. You know, can we just stop giving a fuck about Star Wars? Because, like, we have finally hit the point where, like, more than half of Star Wars is bad.
I agree with that.
Regardless of how you feel about The Last Jedi, whether what side you're on, more than half of Star Wars is bad.
No, I agree with that. And I think the main problem, dude, is that they didn't have a plan. And people keep saying this, right? But it's like, and then they'll say some shit like, well, George Lucas didn't have a plan. No, you're right, but it's one guy's brain. It's one guy's mind. It's one guy's idea. Here, with this trilogy, go with JJ or go with Ryan, or at least give Ryan more restrictions or give JJ more restrictions and figure out what the through line is. Okay, we have these two new characters. What's going to be their outcome? Okay, if they are going to redeem Ben Solo, we have to figure out ways to tease this in previous films. And, you know, if we're going to bring Palpatine back in the 9th one, let's figure out a way to kind of tease it and foreshadow it. And the only time they ever foreshadowed it was 2 times. One is when she fought Kylo Ren in Force Awakens. She closed her eyes and then the dark side hit her, but that was only in the novel version. And then when Luke is training her in Last Jedi and he's like, oh, you went right to the dark. That's the only clues we have that she's a Palpatine. That's the only fucking clues.
Yeah.
So I just feel like they should have had more foreshadowing on that, and they should have just thought things out better. And that way, no matter how you feel about Last Jedi or you love it or hate it, at least you would have had 3 movies that had a consistent storyline to it. And they had the chance to do it because they knew that they planned all this out and they had the money. Unlike Lucas, who was all fucked up during the first Star Wars, you know, everything went to shit. They had everything they wanted to have, and they still fucked it up, and it's just it's tragic. It's actually, because I love Star Wars. I know you're not a big fan, but I love Star Wars, and I'm like over here like lamenting the death of Star Wars. You know, it's like,
I can understand. Like,
what happened here?
Like the way you're feeling about Star Wars is how I felt about Dragon Ball for like the last 5 years. And,
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, so like I completely empathize, and like when I say like, you know, like. It's not accurate to say I'm not a fan of Star Wars. I liked Star Wars. I grew up with movies. Star Wars. Yeah, like, I grew up with Star Wars. It wasn't like a cornerstone of my childhood like Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles were, but it was still, like, there, and it's something I liked and I cared about. And I thought the prequels were boring and shitty as an adult. I liked them as a kid and like a teenager and a young adult. And then I watched them as an older adult, and I was just like, wow, these movies are boring and shitty, and I don't like them.
Do you think they're better than the sequel trilogy?
They are more narratively cohesive.
Yeah, you feel the synergy at least.
Yes, that synergy is boring and bland, and I don't want to ever experience it again. Because I watched those movies last year, and that was a grueling experience that completely derailed the rest of my rewatch of Star Wars.
Well, I remember we talked about the prequels a long time ago about what we would do to change it. You know what's interesting is the thing about Disney and their fucking Disney, dude. Everything they've done, every single thing they have done has been reactive to something else. Mm-hmm. Force Awakens came out and was a retro movie, like George Lucas said. Lucas said he wanted to explore the microbial world of the Force, the wills. That's interesting. For a trilogy, probably not. For a standalone film, I'm in. Let's do that. Let's do Ant-Man and Star Wars. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But they went with a retro feel purposely. Force Awakens was meant to look aesthetically like the original trilogy because people hated the prequels. Got it. Good.
Yeah.
Rian Johnson comes in. He says, okay, we're going to take Star Wars in a different direction. We're going to deconstruct Luke. We're going to kind of introduce some new Force powers, kind of elevate Kylo Ren. Fine. That's all good. Everybody hates, not everybody, but a lot of people hate Last Jedi. It became like a thing on the internet to shit on Last Jedi. Then they come back and say, we need you to fix this and make a movie that everyone's going to love. He tries. He fails, in my opinion. Everyone does not love this movie. So it's like everything they put out is reactive to the previous thing.
Yeah,
and then everything
is reactionary.
That's bad.
Like Episode 7 is a reaction to the prequels. Episode 8 is a reaction to Episode 7. And Episode 9 is a reaction to Episode 8. Like literally every film is course correction. It's an entire trilogy based on course correction. and none of it fucking works because of it.
And not just that, but the nostalgia bait. Like, even Rogue One and Solo were all about the original trilogy. It's like, because I agree with you. We should move beyond this. We should be, like, when they talked about the unknown regions, right, that we saw in this movie, and the way that Exegol looked, like, I was digging it. Like, I love that, the darkness with the lightning and the giant Sith statues. Like, this is my shit. This is what we want. We didn't get enough of it, though.
Yeah, and... yeah, this movie is so bafflingly stupid in the fucking shape it took. Like, at what point did
But you don't hate it.
Huh?
But you don't hate it. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like it's not hate-worthy. It's just like, why the fuck do you exist in the form that you do? Like, who the fuck thought this was a good idea? At what point did someone go, yeah, we should have a big Dragon Ball Z fucking beam battle with lightsabers?
That was bad. And the fact that it was 2 lightsabers that did it and not one, I don't really understand the difference between the 2 lightsabers and the 1 lightsaber. Like, is it going to be explained in one of the books probably that if you have 2,
I don't care.
You can send lightning back? You know, it was dumb. And then, like, Palpatine blows up. Is he really dead this time?
Like, right? I mean, like that was the end of the Cell games right there. Like, all you needed was Kylo Ren to, like, throw a rock at Palpatine's head from behind and be the Vegeta, and Rey being Gohan, just blasting Palpatine to pieces.
I've been making that comparison. I'm surprised, and I swear to you, I heard that they were going to actually have the spirit of the Jedi behind her. Like, I remember hearing that, and that may have actually been the plan. They cut it out of the movie, but I heard they were going to do that, and I was like, oh my god, that's Gohan.
I thought that they were totally going to fucking, like pull, like, that moment, like an Avatar.
Yeah, the Gohan moment.
Well, I was gonna say like an Avatar, where like the former spirits of the Avatar cycle and shit, and it's just like, and honestly, maybe that would have made that moment like a bit more powerful, because God, like, what we got was just so bland and so by the numbers.
Yeah, the ending sucked. I did not like the ending at all.
Like, people who are sitting there telling me, it's like, well, this feels a hell of a lot more like Star Wars than The Last Jedi ever did. And I'm like...
It does to me, though, but not the entire movie, just parts of it. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm like, okay, well, this also feels like fanficky garbage, and I'd rather have a movie that doesn't feel like fucking Star Wars at all than have a movie that feels like fanficky garbage. Like, everyone fucking jacks off Rogue One because it doesn't feel like Star Wars, and it's just like, and that movie fucking sucks balls.
Well, the first 2 acts, and well, that's a different conversation for another day.
Yeah, no,
but yeah. So, coming from somebody who loved Last Jedi, which was you, you didn't like this movie. Even people who hated Last Jedi didn't like this movie. Like I said, I don't think it's a great movie, but like you, I don't hate it. Like, it's just, and you know what? Like I said before, as much as people want to trash Abrams, I really genuinely believe that he tried to make everybody happy. I think he tried his best to make people happy, and he just couldn't get the job done. And I feel bad.
He's not talented enough. He isn't. That's all there is.
Chris Terrio, I think, might be part of the problem too. I mean,
right.
But you know what's crazy about Chris Terrio is he wrote Argo, which is a great fucking movie. How do you go from Argo to Batman v Superman? I don't get that.
You're given material that you don't know how to work with like a direction that you're told to write a story that you're not familiar, like, because, like, I mean, Batman v Superman is also a course correction movie where it's
and it's also a convoluted mess too.
Yeah, like, and Batman v Superman is a movie that should have never fucking existed. And I'm not saying that because I hate Batman v Superman, I do, but I'm saying it because, like, that movie should never have been a follow-up to Man of Steel.
Well, didn't you say that's the movie you hate more than anything? Did you say that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the thing, like Rise of Skywalker is not in that tier of fuck this movie. Like,
no, Batman v Superman was
yeah, like when it comes to the fuck this movie list, it's like Batman v Superman right at the top, like Godzilla 2014, and like Star Trek Into Darkness. Like those, that's my fuck these movies list.
What do you think about the fact that movie?
Is just baffling.
What do you think about the fact that Movie Bob gave it 8 out of 10? Rise of Skywalker.
I think he really likes Star Wars.
Well,
Movie Bob is that clip of Rich Evans from Red Letter Media humping an R2D2 going, I fucking love Star Wars.
I actually...
That is movie Bob.
As of this recording, it's going to be out by the time this video goes up. I haven't seen the Red Letter Media review, but I can't wait for it. Plinkett, I think... I'm very curious about Plinkett this time, because Plinkett will have a lot to talk about with this. The one thing about this movie you can't deny is that there is a lot to talk about. Not just the lore and what they added to the Star Wars mythos, but the overall like story of this sequel trilogy, bro. And even Chris Stuckman in his review, he seemed like he was a broken man. Like, he gave the movie a C-, right? Similar to us, right? He didn't hate it. He appreciated what they were trying to do, but the execution was bad, and he just felt like this has gone on long enough. And honestly, Zeon, what pisses me off the most, dude, is the way that Lucasfilm treated the fans. They've lied to the fans. They've also, and I know you don't agree with me on this, but it's true. They have labeled any Last Jedi hater as a misogynist. That's bullshit. There were real criticisms of the film.
That's okay. That's okay, because now that Abrams is back, we're the bad guys. Because,
no. Like, it's worse now.
The studio is backpedaled. Like, they're all like, oh, we got J.J. Abrams back. Like, now it feels like Star Wars. And, like, the whole fucking campaign for this movie, like, the weeks leading into it, was the fucking studio and the actors burying Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi. Because, oh, don't worry, guys, we fixed it this time.
Yeah, but that's part. But I'm talking about not just Disney, but also the media. Because earlier today, and I really, really hate this dude, there was a person on Twitter. I can't stand these people. And they're saying that now the Rise of Skywalker is offensive to women because Rey gets her power from a man, a.k.a. Palpatine, and that makes it seem like women can't get power without a man. Like, I'm just like, what a fucking stretch, dude. Like, every time a movie comes out, I wouldn't
listen to those people. Those people are like the fringe insanity of these movements.
I mean, like, and you know me, dude. You and I have talked about this. We agree on equality. Like, I do think that equality matters, and I think that Rey could essentially be a good role model for girls, based on making the right life choices, doing the right thing. I feel like she could be.
I feel so sorry for young girls who now have to grow up with like, oh, Rey is their role, because like I felt like she was really good in the first two movies. Like, I thought like we had a good narrative course for her, but this movie is such a jumbled mess that I'm just like.
But she's still a likable person in this movie.
She is, and honestly, like, I feel like I'm gonna have to like talk to like my friend, because I have a friend who is a huge Star Wars fan, the one who had the Star Wars wedding before KamehaCon.
Right.
She has a teenage daughter who loves Star Wars. I'm gonna talk to her daughter and see what her daughter thinks of Rey, because I think her daughter actually likes the entire sequel trilogy.
Well, I mean, there are things to like. I mean, and that's the thing, that these movies. Do you think? Okay, let me ask you a question about this. With Stuckman said. This will be the last thing before we close out. Stuckman said that Rise of Skywalker made episodes 7 and 8 worse, which actually, I feel like the Matrix sequels kind of made the first one worse, so I try to like ignore them in a way, but in some ways I like them too. Do you think that Rise of Skywalker made Last Jedi and Force Awakens like less interesting?
Yeah, because like it took narrative potential and then squanders it, because like you could have like really interesting build-up, but if the conclusion to the build-up ends up falling flat,
right,
then it does look, it makes what came before it less like good. It makes it shittier.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a problem.
It reflects poorly on it. So now I have like this trilogy where I really like the first film, I love the second one, and then I am just like the third one is just white noise to me. I'm just like, I don't want to rewatch it, honestly. Like, I have no desire to see this movie again. Much like with the sequel, I literally like, I don't want to see the prequels ever again. I don't want to see Rogue One again. I don't ever want to see Solo again, and I don't want to ever see The Rise of Skywalker again.
But also, can you even watch this trilogy at all? Like you know what I mean? Even if you like Last Jedi, can you just watch that movie on its own? I guess maybe you can, but
yeah, no, it sucks now because it's like now I feel like, because I'm sitting there thinking about it, like I own The Force Awakens, I own The Last Jedi. I'm like,
right.
do I own Rise of Skywalker? Because I don't want to fucking own it. I don't want to fucking watch it.
I still think you should watch it one more time. I really do feel like you should watch it one more time. I really do.
I feel like I feel like if I sit down and I'm able to really like watch it again and digest everything fully, I'm just gonna come out of it disliking it even more.
Probably. I mean, that's what I did with Last Jedi.
Like, yeah, though, so. like how you went into like Last Jedi, and the more you watched it, the more you disliked it, and you found more things to hate about it. I feel like that's what's gonna happen to me. Like,
yeah, it was backwards for me with this movie. Yeah. It gets better on subsequent viewings, but at the same time...
Because for me to like a movie more, it has to have a lot of depth to it that I didn't pick up on the first time. Like emotional depth, thematic depth.
Yeah, well, this movie tried to do that and almost succeeded, but every time
they would pants.
Yeah, every time they came close to doing it, they would cut away to something. It was so weird. Like, they would always come close to doing a compelling, interesting decision or moment. Then it would just, like, cut to something else. They had to get to the next plot point. It was just really like, dude, slow down. Slow down. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, no. The movie's too breakneck. It's a fucking fetch quest. The fucking Palpatine shit is all stupid and just shoved right in there with no real build-up. The fucking reveal for Rey being a Palpatine is bad. Like, I would rather watch The Phantom Menace again.
That's a little extreme.
No, I'm serious.
That's a little extreme.
But then again, I wanted to state for the record, The Phantom Menace is the most bearable of the prequel trilogy.
You really think so?
Yeah, because it actually tries to be fun. Like, the second movie is boring as shit and focused on really, really dry, passionless romance. Right. And the third film is just edgy and up its own ass and so grimdark and so fucking boring. And everything with General Grievous is the worst fucking thing ever.
I love Revenge of the Sith. I can't agree with you on that.
I'm sorry, man. I never want to have to experience Revenge of the Sith ever again. That movie was abysmal. Like, it is my second least favorite Star Wars movie. Because, like, for me, like, the bottom of the fucking tier list, it's like Attack of the Clones and then Revenge of the Sith right above it. Then, like, Rogue One, Solo, Rise of Skywalker, and The Phantom Menace. And those are all the Star Wars movies I don't like.
At least we agree that the original trilogy is the best.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Like, I mean, I don't even think the fucking Return of the Jedi is that good, but it's...
No, why do people say that? That's my favorite one.
Sorry. Like,
that's the best. That's my favorite Star Wars movie, dude.
I'm sorry. Look, okay, the stuff with Jabba is just fucking backpedaling on shit that they set up or that they did in the last movie, and it's completely disconnected from the rest of it. The movie just kind of like spins its wheels in the middle of it on Endor, on the forest moon of Endor. I want to say, I love the stuff on Jabba, but it's so disconnected and convoluted from the rest of... It's so disconnected from the rest of the movie, and it's so convoluted. I don't think it's a good addition to the film as a whole. And I love the lightsaber duel between Luke and Vader in that film.
Oh, it's the best one. It was the best one in the whole franchise, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I would argue it probably is too. Like, it's like, when it comes to like my favorite lightsaber duels, it's like that one, the lightsaber duel from the Force Awakens.
Oh, Force Awakens, okay.
Yeah, and then probably the Phantom Menace. And then I also like if you want to count this as a lightsaber battle, the Rey and Kylo versus the Praetorian Guards.
No, it's terrible. If you actually study that scene, dude, there's a lot of fucked up choreography in it.
I mean, there's a lot of fucked up choreography in the fucking Phantom Menace.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, being a Power Ranger fan, though, it should be easy to pick up on that, because the Praetorians are like the Putty Patrol. They're just standing around waiting for their turn to get killed. It just feels that way. It's very much... or the Foot Clan in Turtles.
Right, yeah, no, I get that, like... But, like, in the moment-to-moment pacing of it, like, I've never seen a battle like that in Star Wars. It was a really cool fight. You know, I mean, you could sit there, like, someone dissected the fucking Phantom Menace fight, and it's just like, look, like, their blades would never have actually hit one another because they're swinging above and away from one another. And I'm like, I don't care. It still looks good. It still looks good in execution. Yes, you can dissect it and go, look, they never would have even hit one another. I don't care. It's still, in the moment, in the action, it looks great. And that's how I feel about the Praetorian Guard fight. Is
Let's
that
just
like unless you're gonna sit there and nitpick it and frame by frame and then go, look how this guy's standing here and look how this guy's doing this, and oh look, this guy's dagger disappeared so he couldn't stab Rey in the back. It's just like disappear. I don't give a fuck about all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just think it lowers the quality of that fight. The ones in this film.
Oh god, the ones in this one sucked.
I like the idea of them doing like the water versus the fire, like on the Death Star or whatever, with their big jumps. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed them, but I expected them to be a lot better.
Yeah, I couldn't get over just how dumb so many things this movie were. Like, they go on a fucking planet and, they just happen to stumble across the one fucking dagger on an entire planet that they needed. And then that dagger, like, it's like, oh, look, it lines up with the Death Star wreckage. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? It was so dumb.
I thought that was really weird because you would think that, like, what if something happens to the wreckage? You know what I mean?
What if something happens to the wreckage? What if you're not standing in the exact position for that dagger to actually line up with the wreckage?
Yeah,
what if literally anything had happened? Or what if like the blade had been slightly broken or bent or askew and it didn't line up? Like, it's dumb. It is just, this is the type of shit a 13-year-old writes because they think it sounds cool.
Yeah,
that is the entirety of this whole fucking movie. I actually
said that too. I said that the crawl and the movie felt like it was written by a kid. I did say that, and it does. It feels that way.
Like, it's like when people tell me that like Dragon Ball, like, can only be done by Toriyama, and I look at modern Dragon Ball and I'm like, anybody could have fucking wrote this. Yeah, like there's nothing unique or special about this shit.
There's good concepts and just a bad execution. That's been like the issue forever, dude. Like with all these franchises. Good concept, bad execution.
Can we just stop asking for our fucking favorite things to come back, please?
I'm starting to get to that point too. Obviously, you're already there, and I'm not there yet. But I'm getting to that point. Yeah,
because I've been there. Like I didn't want more Dragon Ball. I got more Dragon Ball. It sucks. I didn't really want more Star Wars. I got more Star Wars. It sucks. Like the only thing that's still good for me is Ninja Turtles, but they reboot Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles will always be like something new and fresh. So if version,
they should never reboot Star Wars though. I don't think they should do that.
No, they probably shouldn't. There's too much of it. But
they should like tell stories in like the other part of the galaxy with different characters.
Yeah, no, it'd be nice. I don't think it would do well financially, but it'd be nice. But yeah, no, that's just all of my thoughts on this movie.
We went a long time. We're going to wrap it up now. Yeah, give your final thoughts. I still think you should watch it again, like I said. But again, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But I do think you should watch it again. I'm into the lore, and this movie did give us a lot of lore. So the lore masters, I was into that. But no, I think it does get better on subsequent viewings.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I'm sure you enjoyed it more. I mean, then again, like, you also enjoyed Broly more on subsequent viewings, and the more I watch Broly, the more I dislike it, so...
Please don't try and paint me as being, like, less intelligent here.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, though, that, like, you will forgive things on rewatches if it didn't, like, offend you, and, like, for me, I'm just like, oh, this is more boring on a rewatch, and now I see the shit that I don't like even more.
Well, that's how it is for some things with me as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Resurrection F. Like, Resurrection F gets worse every time you rewatch it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, like, Resurrection F is worse on rewatch. I think Broly gets a hell of a lot worse on rewatches. And Rogue One was way worse on a rewatch.
Rogue One was worse on rewatches, yeah, for sure.
Like I came out of Rogue One going, that kind of sucked. Whatever, it's fine, I guess. And then I rewatched it. I'm like, that movie was boring as fuck, and I never want to see it again.
I just watched the third act because it's great. I love the spectacle of the third act.
Yeah, that's all Gareth Edwards is good at. He's good at scale and spectacle, and that's all people ever talk about. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Can you write a character?
Yeah, well, Star Wars just doesn't have writers like that, dude. It's a mess. It's literally a mess. So we're going to wrap it up. Thanks again for being here, Zeon, talking to me for almost an hour and a half. I really appreciate it. And,
it's fine.
You had to get it off your chest, and you did. Mm-hmm. So thanks again. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to promote? I mean, whatever you go for it, dude.
Okay, so...
You've got like 5 channels now.
Okay, primarily I have just my main channel that I'm working on right now, Zeon's vlog channel. Check that out. I talk about shit whenever I'm not busy and actually have time to make content. My Twitter, lady_Zeon. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for having me on. Like, it's good to finally be able to vent about this movie because I've had no one to vent to. God, I just want Star Wars to die now.
I do too, but you know what? Also check out The Mandalorian because that's a totally different kind of Star Wars.
I hear that's dope, and I kind of want to check that out. So whenever I eventually make the plunge and get Disney Plus, I'll check that out.
He's a badass fucking character, dude. It's there is a lot of nostalgia bait, unfortunately. I mean, a lot of it, and it's just something that Disney just can't let go. They cannot let it go. But at the very least, every episode kind of unveils a little bit more about the character, and I like it a lot. I really like the way they're doing the series, and it really does expound the universe a bit. Not as much as I wanted to yet, but I enjoy it. I really do. It's not like the best series ever, but I think it's the best Disney Star Wars we've ever seen, in my opinion. I think it's the best. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, we'll talk later and catch y'all down the road.